Hello, everybody. Happy Thursday. Happy Thursday. Happy Thursday. So happy to be back with you. It's been an amazing first part of July, and I hope that you are well. Tonight's conversation, let me just say, it's going to be a good one. If you missed the first one, don't worry. I got you covered. It is on my YouTube channel, on the Bridgett Battles YouTube channel. So we'll definitely be adding the link below so that you can watch the first episode of my conversation with Tim. So for all of my new CEOs who are watching us, I am Bridgett Battles, Executive President Strategist and host of Coffee with Bridgett, where I make it my business to help you create a presence that cannot be ignored. Well, tonight, without further ado, help me welcome my guest tonight. Help me welcome Tim Wortham. Hey, Tim.
Hey, Bridgett, how are you?
Well, welcome back.
Thank you for having me back.
Of course. I wouldn't have had it any other way. Listen, tonight's conversation is going to be filled with so much juicy goodness. And most importantly, we're definitely going to help some people tonight. We're going to share. And it's definitely going to be encouraging and empowering. So just before we get started, I have a few announcements that I need to make first. My first announcement that I definitely want to make is that shout out to our winners who won the book last time. We gave away 2 books last time. Shout out to Benita Smith. Benita, what y'all see Benita picture? Hey, Benita, girl. Hey, girl. Benita, if you here, we need to see you in the comments, Benita. If you here now, you won your book. We need you to be back to help other people get free from daddy issues. And then also, too, special shout out to Tammy Watkins Miller. Tammy is in my Level Up Mastermind group. Hey, Tammy. Tammy, if you here, I need you to say, I am here. So, Tim, I give them a quiz in my mastermind group, and they never know what the gift is going to be. So this week's gift was for me to give Tammy a shout out. Can we put Tammy back on the screen? Tammy is one of my entrepreneurs who came to me. She had a dream, a vision, and a goal, and she's written her book and needed the strategy to be able to move the book. And we've been working together now for the past 6 months, and Tammy has increased her sales. She's increased her visibility, and now Tammy is creating a solid brand. Tammy's book is called The Caleb Movement. We have the Caleb Movement. So you can purchase a copy of Tammy's book. Tammy, if you are here tonight, you can put your book link in the comments so that people can check out your website. All righty then. So Tim, get into some conversation, okay? Let's get into some conversation. So since the last time we talked, you had been on what I like to call your virtual exclusive book tour via social media and sharing about daddy issues. So, Tim, what has changed since the last time we saw each other?
What has changed? I think that I've just been hearing from a few more people, which is wonderful. Just folks saying thank you, folks sharing a bit of their own stories, which is an honor. Is an honor for folks to feel like they know you well enough that they can trust you with a bit of themselves. I think that is very rewarding, and just to hear the impact of the book is that's what it was all about to begin with.
Mm-hmm. Well, so Tim, let's give for those who are just joining us, please say hey in the comments so that we can greet you properly. Me and Tim want to make sure that you're engaged and involved in the conversation. So for those who missed the first part of the conversation, Tim, let's give them a recap. So let's talk a little bit about the title before we get into the content for tonight. Daddy issues. Tim is an amazing author. He's a musician. He's a husband. He's a father. He's God-fearing, and also holds a very respectable professional career. So, Tim, let's talk about why the title Daddy Issues.
So the title was chosen, first of all, it came to be because of just some conversations with peers, fellow men, in my age group, and some older than me, who would just kind of echo some of the same sentiments around the impact of either the absence of their fathers or the unhealthy presence of their fathers. And so just this idea of the impact fathers have on their children, just in general, but in my case, of course, in their absence. And then also to just this term, this phrase, daddy issues, has always been reserved for women. It's
Mhm.
always been something that we would use when referring to women, whether it be, because they're dating older men or they're strippers, things like that, that we always say, oh, she has daddy issues. She has daddy issues. And we never really think about the fact that men too suffer from this quote unquote phenomenon of daddy issues.
So for those of you who are just joining us, please like and comment and share the video. So Tim, you said something that is just now like, penetrating my mind. You said unhealthy presence. And, we deem an unhealthy presence as a toxic situation, something that is not giving us life or that is aligned with who we are and where we are going. So the unhealthy presence, how can you identify, what should people be looking for to determine if someone is an unhealthy presence in their life?
Well, I think you just kind of nailed it. It's
Mhm.
about what that presence, the results of that presence on your state of being. Does
Mhm.
it contribute to who you are in a positive way? Does it reinforce you? Does it empower you? If it is critical, is it critical in a way that is provoking you to change and to better, or is it something that you feel like is meant to belittle or diminish you? And so it's really about the impact, both physically, psychologically, emotionally, on you as an individual, of whomever you have in your space. And you need to be very, very aware of that. You need to be aware of energy. You need to be aware of motives. You need to be aware of who's contributing versus who is just there to take from you.
Mhm. Hey, Alden, thank you for joining, Alden. Alden said unhealthy presence. Wow. So let's drill down a little further. So, y'all, I have to tell you that I brought Tim back because the impact of our conversation was one that was so meaningful. And it was one that I started to get feedback from the audience saying how much this conversation helped them pull scabs off of things. It helped them really understand that there are things that have to be discussed. And so I think we as believers, sometimes we think we can shout our way and speak in tongues our way over issues. And that is not healthy. You have to have a conversation, because if you don't have a conversation, you don't have clarity. And I think that's a problem for us as believers. We don't have clarity. We're quick to going to the end of a thing, to a resolve, but no clarity and no substance. So Tim, with this unhealthy presence or toxic situations, understanding that we're all at a place in time now where life is precious. We still in the pandemic, okay? So any daddy issue or issue period needs a discussion.
Absolutely.
And so I brought Tim back, and Tim, I still have so many questions. And I've had a chance to really dig deep into, the book even more. And I shared with you previously before coming online, and I'm going to share this with the audience because I want to go into your fourth grade open house. And so Alden and Nikita, I had the opportunity to sit in on a session where one of the young ladies talked about the fact of, what you feed follows you. And so we have to be careful about what we feed ourselves, not just in the natural, not just in the spiritual, but the overall whole being. And so I think sometimes we do our own selves a disservice because we only focus on the things that we like. The things that we don't like, we don't focus on because we want to block it out and pretend it doesn't exist. And so now I feel like feeding ourselves with the solution, feeding ourselves with having this conversation, feeding ourselves with really identifying, yes, this is what triggers me. This is what made me have daddy issues. So Tim, when I was reading, I was like, wow, it's like Tim is talking to me specifically. Even though my issue may not have been your issue, we all got issues.
Oh, yeah.
Let's go to your fourth grade open house. And by the way, y'all, if y'all don't have Tim's book, you need to get Tim's book. All right. You definitely need to get his book, and we'll make sure we put his website up so that you can get an opportunity to purchase the book. Fourth grade open house. Your dad has missed a lot of things but he happens to make his way to your fourth grade open house. You were proud?
So proud.
And then I read a part that in the book, which I was like, where you talked about you fake being sick.
Yes.
Because you wanted him to pick you up. So let's talk about this. What was going through your mind at that time, fourth grade open house? Where were you mentally and your dad's relationship?
So at that point in time, it was still, we had no regularly scheduled visits. You know, every opportunity that I had to see him was unpredictable. It was spontaneous. And still, I was always happy to see him, always excited when he would make an appearance. And this was literally the one time that I can recall him showing up for something at my school. I mean, at that point, that was fourth grade, but from then on, it was literally the one time, other than him coming to pick me up the time that you mentioned when I acted like I was sick and had them call him instead of calling my mother. And so I just remember feeling like, wow, so tonight I get to be normal. And I think that was the overwhelming feeling. And it just made me feel so proud because I was able to walk around school with a mother and a father. You know, that was an era where all the families that you saw on television, all the families that you saw in the movies had a mother and father. You know, that was the primary image of what the family looked like. There was not a whole lot of representation for single parents. Maybe you had a single mother on What's Happening. You had Mr. Drummond on Different Strokes. You know what I mean? But by and large, when you saw family, the representation said mother, father, children. And so for me, that night, I had what family was supposed to look like. And it gave me a tremendous sense of pride when, you know, I normally did not feel that.
Wow. So, which brings me to the title, Am I Good Enough, of this chapter? Am I good enough? What? A fourth grader, am I good enough? Like, what do you say to a fourth grader now? Am I good enough? One of the young ladies that's on here, she's a single parent. And so she bought the book because she's raising a son. So what do you say to these young boys who are growing into preteen? Am I good enough? Because the father is not present. But am I good enough?
Right. And the father's absence is part of why that question even exists. Because my thinking is, if I was good enough, he would be here. He would want to be here. Even if he wasn't in the home, if I was good enough, he would at least want to spend a lot more time with me. Right. There would be a draw there. There would be value there that would provoke him to say, yo, I need to have my son around. I need to be in my son's presence. I need my son to be in my presence. And I think that it's probably going to be challenging for the fourth grader to not internalize. And so we, as the parent now, have to be intentional about reinforcing this message of you are good enough. We have to be able to offer that praise. We have to be able to say, you know, your value is inherent. It is not something that you pull externally. It's not something that somebody bestows upon you. The day you were born, you were good enough. The day you were born with purpose. You were born with value. And you are absolutely worthy of love. You are worthy of admiration. You are worthy of attention. And you are worthy to be seen fully as who you are. And that is one of our challenges as parents, whether we have this you know, prototypical or glorified version of family or not, is to instill in our children that sense of being and that sense of just self-confidence.
Wow. Somebody put in the comments, I am good enough. So taking a step further, because I really want to peel this thing back. Taking a step further, you know, you also talk about, and I wrote it down to make sure I got it right, being able to discern expectations. Discerning expectations and meeting them. And so for me, immediately I thought about the superpower to discern expectations and meet them before they're even verbalized.
Yeah. Yeah.
You know, like, so, like, to me, that was just like discerning expectations with other people because of this unhealthy relationship. Instead of an unhealthy presence, a non-existent presence, or intermittent presence, or a presence that's convenient,
Right.
or a presence of when I am convicted, because you know how it is when we are convicted, or when we feel like I read this book, talked a little bit about sometimes we put friends or relationships on layaway, which means that what we do is we pay on them enough. We communicate with you just enough to keep you connected. And so I might go a couple weeks without making a payment, but before the 30 days is up, I'm going to make a payment because, hey, I'm still here. I just stay in town, but I'm still here. And so I think about, okay, so discerning these expectations in a non-existent presence, or a unhealthy presence, or a presence that brings sorrow. Because you can have people in your life, you love them, but their presence causes you to weep.
Yeah.
So let's pull back this discerning expectations. What does that mean? Break that down. What does that mean, Tim Wortham style? Before we do that, I got to give a shout out to Tim's beautiful wife is on here. She just celebrated a birthday, so we definitely want to celebrate you. We celebrate you, Wanda. We appreciate you. We thank you for sharing your husband with us in this amazing journey. So, what does that mean?
So, and it's funny because you said superpower, right? And so, in a proper context, that is amazing. Like if you've ever been a boss and you've had an assistant who had that ability to anticipate your needs before you could even ask it, they are your most valued, asset, your most valued employee. And it makes sense in that context because that's what they're paid to do. That's what they're there to do, is to support you and to make sure you have everything you need to thrive and all that good stuff. However, in the context that it existed for me, it was terrible because it means that because of that absence, I don't want to recreate that absence. And so even if it's to my detriment, I will become what you need me to be to maintain your presence. And so that doesn't mean that your presence is great. That doesn't mean that your presence.
You cannot move past that. I will become what you need me to be just to maintain your presence. So that right there can go so many different ways. That goes for a father. That can also go for a marriage. That goes for any type of relationship. When you decide you want to go in a telephone booth and switch and put on your cape, to convert yourself into somebody in order to hold on to somebody, you're not being your authentic self. You're not being true to who you are. And anytime you are not being true to who you are, you're delivering an imperfect version. You're delivering a flawed version. You're delivering somebody. You basically have imposter syndrome.
Yeah.
Wow, that was good, Tim.
Yeah. And I mean, but imagine as a child operating in so many spaces. I knew who my family members needed me to be. I knew who the people at school needed me to be. I knew who the people at church needed me to be. And it wasn't a matter of, okay, who are the people who are most important? Who are the people who are adding value to my life? Who are the people that, I should really want to make sure that I maintain these relationships because they are so meaningful. This was me just not wanting to be alone ever. And so if you were here, I'm going to make sure you stay, because the more people who stay, the less likely I'm going to experience that loneliness. The less likely I'm going to experience again the trauma of abandonment. And so it was masterful, and I won't say so. I was able to kind of navigate these spaces without necessarily compromising, kind of my core beliefs. Even at that age, I had some things that I just some lines I would not cross. But I was able to kind of just walk this line enough to make sure that I just stayed in people's good graces. This whole thing, this whole concept of people pleasing is so detrimental to self. And like you said, it's so detrimental to authenticity. Because if my authentic self makes you uncomfortable, my decision then is to be inauthentic so that you can remain comfortable. And that is not the way to live. That is not the way to be. That is not the way to live out purpose. You cannot be a purposeful individual and an inauthentic individual. It just will not work.
No, please make sure y'all are liking and sharing this, because this is some good stuff. So I want to take it a step even further. As I kept on reading, you talked about really learning and understanding your value. And so for every entrepreneur, every creative, every dreamer, every visionary, everybody that's listening to us right now, I want you to understand something. One of the things that I have consistently done is that I am a person who believes in creating a theme to attach it to my goal. A theme helps me keep focused on my goal. And so as we prepare for the second half of the year, I was asking God, what is my theme? Because I knew that doors are opening, I'm getting opportunities, I'm creating brand awareness, but what is my theme? And so even with you coming back, Tim, it's so in line with where I'm going. And so what I've come up with, and I know this was all God. First of all, I love anything that got to do with a B. Picture that, okay? It could anything that's got to be blessed, be brilliant, anything got to do with me. I love it. But it was like the Lord spoke to me so clear, and He said to me, "This next half of the year, you're going to focus on and share what it's like to move from being broken to building." So my point for sharing that, y'all, I've already got it in trademark process. That's my next thing. I'm broken to building. So you can hashtag that, broken to building. But I said that to say that when you have daddy issues, it's because they're fragmented. It is because there was something that was broken, something that wasn't working, something that wasn't producing, something that had resistance. And so now we're going to show you tonight through Tim's story how you can move past resistance. And in some cases, you got to know how to move with resistance and to be able to build. So with that, it ties into my next question. You talked about understanding your value. Depending on people, when you start making yourself to be somebody that you want other people to view you as, so they will stay in your life. And here's the thing, sometimes we believe God, we're spiritual, we're strong, but when adversity and brokenness and daddy issues, when it confronts you in the face, that's traumatic. Nobody can tell you how to feel, but it's traumatic. And so it all ties back into, do we really know our value? Do we really know? Because a lot of times, and then I'm going to stop, because Tim, you always stimulate my creativity. A lot of times what happens is we negotiate our greatness. Wow. Somebody put in the comments, I am not negotiating my greatness.
Yes.
So Tim, you talk about defining what your value is. Let's go back to where you were. I'm still in this fourth grade got me, okay? Let's go back to this fourth grader. Understanding, how do you even come up with that? How do you even bring that, talking about your value?
I mean, I was always the person who could walk in the room and see everyone else's greatness and not my own. To this day, I'm happy to be an encourager. It is something that I enjoy doing. It is something that I feel like I am graced to do. It does not cost me anything. It is not taxing on me. If someone needs a word of encouragement, I feel like I am always prepared. But I was not always able to do that in the mirror. right? I was not always able to look at myself and say, yeah, you know what? Right now, things are not great. Right now, you are probably not your best self, but you are greater than your current state of being. It's just a matter of being able to endure until you get to the point where your greatness is manifested. And so I think it's funny you just talked about like a theme. I very recently posted what I've now embraced as a bit of my own theme, and that is your difference has an audience.
Mm.
Because
It has an audience. That's
your
good.
difference has an audience, and it goes back to this idea of trying to be all things to all people in the not so biblical sense, in a very carnal sense, where
I think I got some ushers from my church on here. If not, I
help her out.
Erica, come cover me up.
Help her out, y'all. Please help her out.
Mm.
But it took Bridgett. It took me so long to be okay with my oddity, my weirdness, my difference. You know, coming up in church and not sounding like the typical preacher. I have an EP I'm going to release on the 30th that does not sound like typical gospel. You know, it's not going to be a Travis Green project. It's not going to be, you know, a project that you'll probably sing in your church. But you know what it will be? It'll be a project where you're at your cookout and somebody who is not in church, it will resonate with them more than, you know, James Cleveland, more than, you know what I mean? I used to laugh when I would hear like the older saints talk about this Christian hip hop movement. And I'm like, all right, yeah, but we're trying to reach people who only listen to Jay-Z and J. Cole and Kendrick Lamar. And so we need something for them, right? So just understanding, and you mentioned entrepreneurs, understanding that what you've been given, that thing that makes you so special and so unique, that thing that keeps you up at night because you know you have to do it, somebody's waiting for it. Somebody is absolutely waiting for you to become. Somebody is absolutely waiting for you to create. Someone is waiting for you to speak. And it's about us having the confidence in our difference. And that is that's not an easy thing, you know, an easy place to get to, especially if you're suffering from some of the things that I suffered with, as far as just, you mentioned imposter syndrome. Oh, been there, done that. You mentioned, you know, just this, I mentioned this fear of abandonment and this need to be validated externally. Those things have to be overcome because we have things in each and every one of us that other people are waiting for from us.
Wow. So if you in my Level Up Mastermind class, you need to hashtag level up, because we talked about this Tuesday night.
Wow.
We talked all about that Tuesday night. So I know we were supposed to talk. I know that we were in line for conversation. I love the fact that you wordsmith so well. You wordsmith so well to where. So for those of you who don't know, I am someone who's not shy with words. Okay. I can have a conversation with anybody. Okay. Especially if it's unscripted. I can have a conversation with anybody. So you wordsmith so well that you drew me in. I felt like I was responding to what you had on paper. I was responding in my head as I was reading what you wrote.
Wow.
And so you talked about being a writer who was free. So in my head, I was like, okay, he's a freedom writer. No topic is off limits, you know, because he's free to create. And then you talk a little bit about, you know, the fact that when you had these men in your life who you looked at as mentors, and I started chuckling when I saw that, you know, you had your mom take you to the store to get some shaving cream and a razor, and you went to church.
Oh, it was bad, Bridgett. It was bad. It was bad.
And so I shared those two things is because I was able to follow your progression in the book. And I shared that because when you have an issue that needs to be resolved, there's got to be a progression. You can't stay stuck in being stuck. And so, you know, you talked about these two pastors, the pastor who taught you how to shave. And then there was the pastor who took you in like you were his son, and he was raising 3 sons. And then you go to this church and where you're so connected to leadership. So let's talk about, you've gone now from being, this 4th grader.
Mm-hmm.
Now you become even more connected to leadership.
Yeah.
Oh, wow, you have unresolved issues. So I want to put a pin right there for creatives and entrepreneurs. Even while you still have issues, while everything is not fixed, some things you still have to work and keep moving in, even while there is a piece that's broken.
Yes.
Because if you stop moving, you die. And so you have to keep going. And that was my takeaway. When I read that, I said, no matter what the issues were, you never stopped moving. You kept going. So you were not only free to write, but you were also free to live with the issue. So let's talk about your mentorship, what that was like.
So it's funny because I started to consider, the men that I decided to kind of highlight. They weren't the only ones, that contributed, but they were very, very significant in my process. And along the way, that 4th grader was still present throughout that journey.
Wow.
Those issues, but everyone, it reminded me of the scripture that says that one plants and other waters, but it's God that gives the increase. Everyone had their part to play, and they did what they were supposed to do to address very specific areas. And that's what I'm so grateful for, because there were moments along the way where issues that I had were revealed because of the mentor that was in place. I didn't even know, right? I couldn't really articulate or readily identify every single issue that I was dealing with. Some things I had suppressed so masterfully that you would think they didn't exist, but they would manifest in ways when when the temperature was up a bit, or when I was stressed, or when I was tired, or whatever. And so it was amazing to me and a blessing to me, and just a reminder of how intentional God is, for him to kind of progress me the way he did, and to put me in the places that he did, and like you said, to have me in the position to be so close to leadership, because I never saw myself as a leader, but he knew that I was. And so he needed me before I was ready to walk in it. He needed me to see what that was from a very close vantage point, right? It wasn't good enough to be in the back row. It wasn't good enough to just be in the room. He needed me in the office. He needed me right next to the leader. He needed me driving the leader. He needed me serving the leader, so that I could understand what it meant, to be a good leader, what it meant to be a bad leader. Some of the greatest lessons that I learned along my journey was what not to do. There are some things that I know now because of what I experienced, that I will never do this. I will never, inflict this kind of behavior on someone else. Those kinds of lessons. So I mean, it felt like nothing that I could take credit for. I was in a process almost involuntarily, but it was absolutely necessary. It was absolutely necessary just to gain these lessons, dispel some of the things that I had created in my own head. Sometimes it took an external voice from someone that I really respected to counteract the internal voices that were feeding me devastating lies about myself. And the beauty in having folks who could do what I would do for others, that thing of looking and saying, I see your value, I see your greatness, this is what's in you, this is who you are. I didn't, I mean, I struggle even now to articulate just how meaningful that was, because I couldn't do it for myself. I just couldn't.
So 2 things I want to point out. And one thing that I've noticed And so I used to be like this. And I'm working through it. I'm a lot better now, and it's going to get even better. I can talk about everybody else's success. I can talk about how great other people are doing.
Yeah.
All of that. And I just had this conversation today with somebody. But when it comes to myself, sometimes I hold back my wins. Sometimes I hold back the great things that are happening. Sometimes I'm like, oh man, do I really want to share? I got another magazine cover. Do I really want to share? I've got another article. Do I really want to share that? And I'm like, do I say it or do I just not say anything at all? And I said that to say because I feel like, and I could be wrong because this is not prophetic. This is conversation. Okay. I want to make that clear. This is not prophetic. But I feel like sometimes it's uncomfortable for you to talk about you when it comes to the success and the great things that you're doing. Yeah. And I recognize that because it was a spirit I had, I'm better now. I'm gonna get even better with it. And I say that, but because it comes from a place of not saying, oh, I did this, I did that. No, it comes from a place of understanding that I had to learn how to deal with failure and how to take my failure to fall forward. And so when you fall forward and you get the success, it may not be where you want it to be, but you're not where you were.
Right.
And my one ultimate goal in life, and I get super passionate and super excited, and I'm not crying tonight because I got some good purple eyeshadow on tonight. Okay.
Yes, you do.
But my one commitment out of every single thing that I do is that I need my family to understand that it is possible for you to achieve your dreams and goals, and it is possible for you to have success, and it is possible for you to have the life that you desire. That's my ultimate commitment. That means more to me than what anybody else says. That means more to me than what anybody else can tell me how great I am or whatever. That's all well and good. But it's knowing that my family sees that this Christ-like life that I live, this business life that I live. No, everything's not perfect. I have issues, but I'm still moving forward. And so when I hear you speak, I am the person who's drawn to things that make me think critically. I'm a critical thinker. I want to pull it back and diagnose it and see like what strategy can we put with this so that we can move it forward. So when I hear you and you talking about these issues, you've given people the blueprint by your own personal lifestyle, your own personal struggle to say, hey, I bleed the same blood you bleed. Let me tell you my story so that my story can not only help you, but you can also pay it forward.
Yeah.
And so, having this conversation is impactful on so many different levels. So I want to talk about you having these mentors. They taught you all these great things, but they also taught, where I read you, they also taught you what failure was. They taught you how to fail, because it's an art to knowing how to fail. Just because you didn't get it right one time does not mean that it's over. Right. It's an art to understanding what failure is. So let's talk a little bit about that.
For sure. I mean, I remember one person telling me just flat out, life does not end after a bad decision. And I carry that lesson with me because obviously I'm still here. So bad decisions are still happening. They still happen. And so it's how you rebound from that. I think that failure is not missing the mark. Failure is missing the mark and not learning from it.
Wow.
Is not understanding how do I avoid that when it comes back around. God bless you.
Thank you. Mm-hmm.
And that is one of the lessons that I try to teach my children. Mm-hmm. And the way that I'm, vulnerable and transparent in this book is the way I am at the dinner table. When they have an issue, all right, well, let me tell you, because when I was your age, I did this, and this is what happened. And, it was terrible. I felt awful about it, but this is how I learned from it, and this is how I made sure not to repeat that.
Mm-hmm.
Right. And so this idea of being vulnerable and paying it forward, as you mentioned, is something that is near and dear to my heart, because as a father and also as a minister of the gospel, you know, when you have someone who comes into your space and they see you where you are, if you're not able to let them know that you weren't always there, and if you are not willing to share with them your process, if you're not willing to be honest about your pitfalls and your mistakes, then your ability to assist them is diminished, because they feel like, well, they can't possibly understand where I am. They can't possibly relate to what I'm going through. They can't possibly advise me because they're great.
Mm-hmm.
Right. And so, number one, I want people to know I'm not where I was, but I'm still not, you know, just this great, spectacular superhero person. Right. I'm still human, just like you. Like you said, I bleed just like you do.
Yeah.
And just, I also want people to know, listen, I have a story too. I have a story too. So there, you know, it might seem silly, it might seem trivial, but that's why there are weeks where intentionally I don't wear a suit and tie, because somebody might come in today who doesn't have a suit and tie, and they need to see somebody else in the audience that they can say, all right, I can come in, I can sit here, I can stay here, I can, you know, I belong here. And that should be what we're trying to create, is environments of belonging, spaces where people come in and they feel, you know, not just included. You know, included means everybody just gets a turn, but they feel like they actually belong and they have a place. And I think that's really part of what I was trying to create with this project, is just this determination to have those conversations, this decision to be a bit more vulnerable. I mean, obviously with wisdom, to be a bit more transparent, and to in turn make ourselves more relatable and more effective in our ability to lead and in our ability to assist others through their healing process.
Mm-hmm. Absolutely. So your transparency, it is one that is to be commended on so many levels. I think the moment that we talk about things, it does not hold us hostage. We own it then. And so I want to talk a little bit about chapter 12. And so chapter 12, you know, when I saw the title, you know, and I said, that takes courage. That takes courage. Y'all, if you don't have this book, let me see which camera I'm looking at. Y'all, I have 3 computers going on at the same time. Let me see which camera I want to look in. Okay. You know, where my I need my producer. Bring me full screen for what I'm getting ready to say now. I need y'all to understand something. If you don't have this book, you need to buy the book. You need to buy the book, Daddy Issues. And we'll make sure the link is in the comments so that you can buy the book. It's available on Amazon, and Tim also has a website as well. But this next chapter is one that's very serious. And so I want the dialogue that Tim and I are about to have. I think it's important because I have a lot of single moms on here who are raising sons, and knowing what to say and how to say certain things is important. So chapter 12 is entitled, Do They Think I'm Gay Too? Yes, thank you for the book of the issue, Tim Wortham Jr. Y'all get this book. So chapter 12, Tim. Let's talk about chapter 12. And so, you know, the church world, the church world is no stranger to this topic. But sometimes I feel like we have not had the adult conversation about being gay. And I think the adult conversation is really taking time to hear and to listen. And I think that's important. So how did you get the strength and the courage to even name this chapter, Do They Think I'm Gay Too?
Well, I mean, because it was such a big part of my story, as far as my father being gay, and growing up in the church, and you know, the messaging, it was no gray, right? The messaging was very stern. It was very dogmatic. It lacked compassion. It lacked understanding. And so for me, it developed a fear that, you know, what are people saying about me? What are people thinking about me? You know, the old saying, the apple doesn't fall far from the tree and all that kind of stuff.
That saying, but okay.
Right. And because I was a sensitive kid, you know, due to my circumstances, I was very sensitive, but I would get offended by things.
You're a band geek.
Oh, absolutely. Absolutely. Music was always my thing. And so I thought that this had to be addressed. Like it just, I could not just kind of brush over it. It was a real moment in my life and a real fear for me and a real concern for me. And it did drive a lot of the decisions that I made at that time.
So, do you have these conversations with your children?
Oh, absolutely.
Have your children read your book?
They have not. So my oldest daughter, who is, you know, technically my goddaughter, but that's, you know, she's my daughter. She read it. And my oldest son, he has it, but I don't know if he's read it yet.
Okay.
And then the younger ones have not. They've not read it.
So, y'all, Tim, what is time got to go by so fast?
I don't even know what time it is. I'm not gonna lie to you.
It's the 8 already. Okay, because I don't know how long time. Yo, if you have questions for Tim, please put your questions in the comment section so we can answer your questions. So while people are getting their questions together, I told you that I want you to answer 3 things for me.
Okay.
Dougie said this book is powerful. Thank you, Dougie.
Thank you, Doug.
I want you to answer the questions, you know, like where have you been? Where are you now? And where are you going? So let's talk about that. Where have you been?
Where have I been? I would say I was in a state of confusion. That's where I was. I was in a place where I had no sense of self. The reason why it was so easy to adapt to the expectations that were placed on me is because I really didn't know who I was, you know. So it wasn't like I was fighting against being who I knew to be. It was easy to just become who everybody expected me to be.
So a question for you. So did you ever get questions about your father? So when you named the chapter, Do You Think I'm Gay Too? How did you respond to people asking you, or if people asked you questions?
So people didn't really ask me questions, but I knew people knew.
Okay. So right? How did you feel that people knew?
So what I can say is I was never for a second ashamed of my father. I never felt that ever, like not even for a second. But I did feel concerned for my own reputation because I already felt like I was already odd enough. Like I was already ostracized enough. I was already different enough. I didn't want another label that would make me, you know, uncool, unpopular, undesirable. And based on the messaging I was receiving about being gay, that's exactly what I would have been had people thought that about me, right? So that was the big concern was, all right, so if people think that I'm gay, then, you know, I'm going to lose a lot of people because my dad did. He lost a lot of people.
Wow.
So that's why that was really, you know, so significant for me as someone, again, abandonment. Oh my gosh. Like
so what do you say to the single moms that are on here tonight who are raising sons and at some point you got to have conversations with your children. At some point you have conversations with your son. So what do you say to the single moms on here tonight who are raising sons that if their son, because you know, sometimes when young kids or young boys are raised in the church, if they're not tough or masculine or, you know, carry themselves a certain way, they're labeled that way as being gay, and it doesn't, and they may not be gay, you know.
Right.
They may have just
Right.
been raised by their grandmother, or raised by their mom, and so they were loved. You know what I mean? Like they
Yeah.
were loved and shown, what it's like to be a part of a family. So what do you say to single moms who at some point has to have these conversations? A single mom whose son says to her, "Mom, the kids at school thinks that I'm gay."
I mean, I guess the first question is,
One of my girlfriends just put, "I just bought this book right now on Amazon Prime. It'll be here Saturday."
oh my God. All right.
Yes, Regina.
I mean, obviously, I think the first question is to ask, well, have that conversation around what they're feeling about their own sexuality, which would lead into its own conversation. Otherwise, it's about that reinforcement of self and saying, you know what, you be proud of who you are. You're creative, you are artistic. A lot of folks who are in the arts, if they carry themselves a certain way, there are always going to be certain assumptions that are made about them. You cannot control what people think about you. You can only control who you are. And I need every parent to impress upon their children, make your focus who you are. That's what you can control.
Good. Make your focus who you are. That's good.
That's all you can control. People will have their opinions. Listen, the most successful people in the world, there's somebody out there having opinions of them, right? And so all you can do is control what you can control and let people do what they're going to do. You'll go crazy spending your life trying to convince people that you are. Your actions will speak for you. Your results will speak for you. You don't have to fight these battles. You can live a life of peace, confident in you just being who you are and not worrying about chasing down, rumors, lies, and speculation. You have much better ways to use that energy.
So y'all get your questions for Tim, because our time is winding up. So I know we talked about where you were. Now we're going to talk about where you are. But before we get to that, y'all see what I'm doing? So I read in the book, also, you picked up smoking. This is my makeup brush, y'all. This ain't no cigarette. You talked about how you picked up smoking for, I can't even see you as
it didn't fit. It didn't fit. It didn't stick. It did nothing for me. It was not hard to quit.
Newports. Tim used to get Newports for a quarter.
Lucy's from the Chinese store.
How many of y'all out here was getting Newports? Or how many of y'all still getting Newports? Which one?
Cools.
So as a kid, my grandmother used to send us to the corner store, and I used to have to get a pack of Cool 100s, a stand back powder, or either Goody powder, and a Pepsi Cola. And so here's the sad part. And please, y'all don't think that I have no home training, that I'm ignorant, because I'm not. But the sad part about it is that we had to go get that maybe 2 or 3 times a week. And we was going, me and my cousins hated going to get that stuff. All right. But then as I got older, when I got 20 something, my grandmother died. And so when she died of a heart attack.
Oh, wow.
So me and my cousins used to sit around and say, all them cigarettes we done went to the store and bought, all them Goody powders we done went and bought, all them Pepsi Cola, we contributed to this, okay?
Oh.
I know it's horrible, right? It's horrible. But that was our way of making ourselves feel better.
Yeah.
Yes, y'all get your questions ready for Tim, because our time is almost up. So we talked about where you were.
Yeah.
Let's talk about where you are now.
So where I am now is a place that is a lot more free, a lot more expressive. I am, I believe, finally comfortable in my skin, comfortable with, the presentation that God has given me, just the identity that God has given me. I'm no longer trying to force myself to fit in. I'm able to just be, and those who are drawn to who I am, so be it. Those who need a different presentation, that presentation exists as well, and they can go find it elsewhere, and that's fine. I have progressed. I'm also at a place now where I know how to finish, and that is significant.
Mhm.
That was something, that was a point in my life, that was a shift in my life that changed not only my trajectory, but the trajectory of my family. And that's what was most meaningful to me. So when I had my first son, I had just finished my freshman year of college. I dropped out of college because I needed to work because I had a son I needed to provide for. And so as he was finishing up high school, I said, you know what? I need to finish my degree before he finishes high school because I don't want him to have any excuses. You know, if he decides not to go to college, it won't be because he thinks that life is so easy without college because dad did it, right? And so I finished my bachelor's. I graduated in December. That following June, he graduated from high school.
Mhm.
And so that finish has built upon itself for
Mhm.
me. And so after that, I got a master's. After that, I got a promotion. After that, I released my first single ever, then a second single, then this book, and then now an EP. And so it's just like that finishing now has just begun to just compound. And so that is something I'm very, very proud of, because I've started a lot of things in my life. I've started a lot of projects. I've had a lot of things that were in the concept phase. But to see a finished product is a sense of satisfaction that I encourage anyone who has a dream, who has a goal, get that one thing that you know you can finish and finish it and experience that euphoria, experience that feeling of saying, I had a project in my mind and now I'm holding it in my hand. You don't know what that is. It's a life-changing experience.
Wow. Michelle Jones Austin said she just ordered her book. She said she'll receive it on Saturday. She said, I had mommy and daddy issues, so I can't wait to
Wow.
read it, continue on my healing journey. Wow. See, that I
Awesome.
knew this conversation. We don't have two. Will there be another? Can I get three on this live? Three people to go get this book. Will there be another? Will there be one more? Will there be one more? But so we talked about, where you've been, where you are now. And just before we talk about where you're going, I just need to do a quick announcement. So I'll talk a little bit about, ladies and gentlemen. So I do have, your wife said, ask Tim if I can holler at him. um, Ladies and gentlemen, so I do have a Level Up Mastermind group where I teach entrepreneurs on how to create a presence that cannot be ignored. So I had a competition in the Level Up Mastermind group this week. And so they never know what the gift is going to be. So this week's gift is Tammy Watkins Miller. So tonight I'm shouting Tammy out. My producer can put Tammy's picture up for me. And also Tammy's book, The Caleb Movement. Yes, give shout out to Tammy. Tammy is one of my entrepreneurs in my class who consistently does everything she's supposed to do. She's consistently pushing her book as well, and she's created the Caleb movement. So Tammy, if you're here, make sure you put the name where people can purchase your book at as well. And she also has a t-shirt. The book is the Caleb Movement. She has a t-shirt that says, we could go back to read, relax, and release. So get you a bundle. Get you a bundle of books tonight. Get you daddy issues. Get you the Caleb movement. Get you a t-shirt. Read, relax, and release. How about that?
Hey.
And shout out to Benita Smith. If we can put Benita's picture back up. Shout out to Benita Smith. Benita won our giveaway last time for daddy issues. And Benita got a phone call from the author of the book, Daddy Issues. So congratulations to Benita and to Dougie. Dougie did a video, so I had to post Dougie, but I'm gonna have to post Dougie again to make sure he get his prop. Oh, we got Dougie picture up, Dougie. Dougie, you see your picture? Dougie, do you see your picture on here, Dougie? Listen, because I want y'all to know I promised I was giving away books and they was gonna get 2 phone calls, and Tim, did we deliver?
Yes, ma'am.
We delivered. We did. We delivered. We delivered. We delivered. All right. So we're winding down. So let's talk about now where you're going.
So now where I'm going is just to continue to serve as best I can. That is really You know, obviously, my first service is right here in my home. I serve my family, and anyone that I'm led to assist, anyone who reaches out, I just, you said pay it forward. I'll use that language. I just want to pay it forward. I
Mhm.
just want to pay it forward. If I can assist anyone along their way in their process, simply by sharing my own story, by sharing my own testimony, by offering that encouragement, as I mentioned earlier, that's really all I want to do. You
Mhm.
know, I'm pretty simple that way.
Yes. Well, this conversation has been amazing. And to all of my followers and those that are on a YouTube channel, Sheila, thank you so much for joining us. And to everyone who stayed with us the entire hour, I appreciate you. If you don't have your Coffee with Bridgett mug, you can go to www.thebbexperience.com and get your Coffee with Bridgett mug. And you want to get this one before next season, because next season we change up mugs each season. So you want to get this one so you can add to your collection. So make sure that you get your mug. If you're not following me on social media, please follow me on my YouTube channel or on my Facebook or Instagram or LinkedIn. Everything is listed as Bridgett Battles, because you want to be the first person to know when my show airs on mainline TV, which is coming soon. So I want to make sure that you all stay connected, understand where I'm going, what I'm doing. And also too, because I'm gonna need y'all to rally. So I told Tim he needs to do an in-store book signing by a show of hands. I tell Tim when he does his in-store book signing, I need to be the first person to moderate the discussion. So by a show of hands, I need y'all to put in the comment section, if you think I should moderate Tim's first in-store, book conversation, So I want to see a show of hands before we get off of here. Don't y'all disappoint me, especially my level up mastermind
I
group.
know that's right.
Y'all
My
disappoint
hands better
me.
go up.
Don't y'all disappoint me now. Don't y'all disappoint me. For those of you in my group, if you all right, I got some hands coming in. For
There we
those of
go.
you who are in my group, if you missed yesterday's challenge, you'll have to wait until Tuesday to see who the winner is for this week. And then we'll start next week's challenge. And so for those of you who have a business, see, they coming in now. See? I had to give them a minute.
There you go.
Had to give them a minute, Yes, you had to give them a minute. But for those of you who are entrepreneurs and creatives, and you're looking to grow your brand and your business, and also create a presence that cannot be ignored, and you're interested in working with me or learning how to work with me, log on to www.thebbexperience.com and click on the Contact Us page. And if you drop down, it sends me and write a note. It sends me a notification, and you get a free phone call with me. How about that? You get all this goodness for you for 30 minutes. All this goodness. My website says 15, but I'm gonna be nice and give you 30 because you stayed with me this whole hour.
Wow.
A little bit about where you are, where you desire to be, where you're going, and to make sure that you actually look like the brand and that the brand is aligned with your core values, because you have to be in alignment for anything you do, especially when you are a service-based entrepreneur. So service-based entrepreneurs, holla at your girl. All right. Thank y'all so much for hanging out with us. Tim, I'm going to have you give us parting words. In the church world, we would say the benediction. What you got for us? What are your parting words to my CEOs?
My parting words to you all is that you will never be an inauthentic success.
Say that one more time.
You will never be an inauthentic success.
You will never be an inauthentic success. Wow. That is so good. That is so good. Ladies and gentlemen, thank y'all so much for joining us. And so by request, I asked Tim to bring back his coffee mug tonight. So Tim, we toast to go out. Where's your mug? Y'all see this mug? Y'all see this mug right here? Y'all see this mug? Y'all see this mug? All right. Until the next time, we'll talk to you soon. Cheers.
Cheers.